Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for a glute, hamstring, and forearm day. So we started off with deadlifts. I kept the door closed because it was a little too cold still outside. Obviously it's still cold in here, and I'm still in my shorts. It's still probably close to freezing in my garage, but I just don't care. So I decided to do the stiff bar because I'm trying to do a little bit harder versions of some stuff, just like I'm box squatting. So I'm like, well, let me grab 550 with the stiff bar, see how it feels. I managed to get a double with it. I've been doing triples with the deadlift bar on this, but I felt like, yeah, definitely the second rep, my grip possibly limiting these deadlifts with this bar. So I'm going to keep doing more grip work. I think what I've kind of said, I'm going to maybe pull the straps even for the rows, start doing everything super strict again. Going to adjust slightly all this supplemental work just to make sure that I'm building muscle maximally, because again, I need to get leaner. My carbs are lower, but I do want to continue to maximize hypertrophy. All right. So we're pretty much just going to do the big three real heavy. I'll probably do incline fairly heavy, maybe the overhead press. But outside of that, I really want all my work to be, in the 8 up to about 20 rep range. Most of my lifts will be 8 to 15. Obviously, a couple things will be 20, reverse hypers, stuff like that. So maybe forearm work. So after that, though, I went ahead and did good mornings. I wanted to start working good mornings in. And I decided I've been super strong in the past on good mornings, but I want to work on them light, work on quality reps, get the deepest range of motion possible, and I just want to build these up. And I'm going to do the same thing with most of my exercises. I want to start working more and more on taking everything as strict as possible with longer ranges of motion for all this bodybuilding type work. Okay, because again, I've had some phases where I started getting a little heavier on some stuff, trimming a little range of motion. I don't like that habit, right? I don't like that habit. I don't need to focus on going super heavy on anything but my big classic lifts, okay? And I just don't need to. That's not necessary in power building. And like I said, I've been doing for a couple weeks. Some of my exercises have gotten heavier. And I don't think I need to do that. Like even the incline this week, you guys saw, I'm just like, let's just do 225, right? I don't need to try to do 245, 255 for the work stuff. So let's do 225 after doing the heavy benching. Okay, so I think with, again, my big lifts, I'm going to do some top sets or top singles on the box squat. Everything else, we're just going to push hypertrophy more and more and more. Obviously, I have lifts I really care about, like the incline. So again, the good mornings just wasn't heavy, but it still felt somewhat fatiguing after deadlifting, right? Felt somewhat fatiguing. So again, I may do some extra grip work. I've had some people chime in, or you don't need the axle bar deadlifts, whatever. I might do them anyways. You know what I mean? I might do the axle bar deadlifts anyways, mainly just for the extra grip work. But I think if I do all my pulling strict and I keep deadlifting with the stiff bar, my grip will be good too, as long as I do some extra forearm work. So again, also, of course, it was really, really cold, so the bar could have been cold. But it just felt like possibly grip there. And it didn't slip or anything. So I want to continue to double down on that, though. I want to make sure my grip and forearms are strong. Obviously, we're specializing in arms a little more than other muscles at the moment. So again, I'm going to work on continuing to get tighter. The glute ham raises, the second two sets look terrible with the camera angle and the loose skin. And I've noticed something when it's super cold outside, by the way, my loose skin is actually considerably worse than when it's hot and I'm sweating. I've noticed that consistently, by the way. Just an interesting thing, and I think it's just what happens when I sleep. I guess there's maybe more blood to being sucked out. It does something. Definitely noticed it, but not a big deal. It's just going to be there. So the glute ham raises, I did the same thing. I did this first set. And I'm like, why am I doing this to where I just do the top? Let me go ahead and just come all the way down on the second two sets. So I did. Let's just do them this other way. Okay, we'll do them the other way to where I get the full range of motion. Okay, why not? Let's get that extra stretch at the bottom, especially if I come down and turn it into a little bit of a back extension there. Get that deepest stretch possible. Right, let's go ahead and get those ranges of motion. Let's put everything into stretch movements. Also stuff into more contracted positions, the best I can. So I'm going to just work on continuing to just get thicker with all the other work. So again, we're going to power build the way we've been doing. All right, which means heavy movements, but I'm really not going to chase some of the heavier weights I've started to do on the supplemental lifts. I don't think it's necessary. I'm going to focus on just really stricter bodybuilding. And I also want to improve my ranges of motion, so it's why I'm reducing weights on things like pullovers and some of the extensions, so I can get into those deeper stretches for that long head. I want to get that shoulder mobility returned, and I know that's going to be the only way it's going to happen. And I might even do similar stuff with the pull-ups. Let me see if I can take them as high as my range of motion allows for, which is still going to be, most people are not going to like it. They're going to be like, oh, that's not enough. And I'm not going to care, The main thing is working on better ranges of motion on everything I do. So after the glute ham raises, and I didn't even count reps, I just did them until it got hard or I failed on that one. I also, the same thing, I reduced the weight on the reverse hypers. Let's take it all the way down to this other extreme. I've gone really heavy with swinging. I'm like, well, let me see what's the lightest weight I can do if I go super, super strict and start failing around, 20 reps. There's a couple of these I didn't get 20. Like I just gave out. It just gave out, and that's okay. So again, got a phenomenal pump here. So a lot of my work, it's going to be a little more reps, and that's okay. Let's just keep it all strict. Same thing, I did the wrist curls. I did sets of 20 today. But I struggled with 20 on the third set, so I dropped it. Instead of doing the 10s with the 185, I'm like, well, let me see if we can get 20-ish reps with the 135 for all 3 sets. Just get a good forearm pump. And just supersetted it with the reverse hyper extensions, right? So again, the more and more I do this, the more I'm realizing a lot of these supplemental lifts, it's not necessary for me to try to go heavy. It's necessary for me to just get stimulus because we get the heavy work from the big lifts, right? My big barbell lifts give me the heavy work that I need. Everything else, it really is just going to be about creating as much tension as I can on the muscles, creating good fatigue. And I've run both ends of the gambit on this. My stuff has never been super cheaty by anyone's things, but I do feel like lately I've been experimenting a little bit with looser form on some lifts, and to be frank, a little looser form, a little lower reps. I'm not feeling additional stimulus. And again, it comes over to may just be hammering my joints for no benefit. And I'm going to again quote Louis Simmons. I want to get as strong as possible with the lightest weight possible. Our big max effort type lifts are the only thing we need to truly think about. Am I going heavy? Hey, my squat, deadlift, bench. And like I said, even my benching, I feel like I could focus on one top set and just rep work after. Same thing, the incline. I can get 8 reps with 225. I got 10 one time. So I want to build up to maybe I can do 3 sets of 10 with that 225. But what happens if it goes further than that? Would it really be the end of the world if I built it up to 12s? Would that still put me at where I want to be for a max? I think absolutely. Because I still want to get that 315 on it. But yeah, these went really good in terms of the reverse hypers today. So even 200 pounds, if I'm super strict, and I take them as far as I can get them without swinging. Because people have to remember that if you try to swing it up, the only way you can get crazy high on these is if you swing it. But you guys have seen me do 700 plus pounds swinging, right? But that 200 pounds gives just as much. So again, I'm hoping once this cold is done and the scale trickles back down with the adjustment in my carbs, everything will tighten up a little bit more. But definitely when it's cold, it's really interesting to me what my skin does. It's really interesting. And something I need to think about more, maybe. Is there anything valuable I can glean from that for other people? But again, I always keep saying, if I keep getting leaner, it's all going to be where I want it anyways, right? It'll eventually be where I want it. So again, did my 5 sets of, I'm calling it 20, but a couple of these sets I know I came up at only about 18 or so. Because again, my back was just burning by then. But again, everything really felt good. I felt like I got really good posterior chain stimulus. My forearms got a good pump. And we still got a nice, decently heavy double with that stiffer bar. So happy with the workout. So I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.